Hello and welcome back to a new episode of Yarn Y'all. My name is Rachel. I'll be your host today, and as with a traditional knitting or crochet podcast, we'll talk about any whips I have going. There won't be any FOs just because that's just not on my, we're not that far along with anything. And then if I have any additional thoughts, I'll be sharing those as we go along. I'm not feeling very inspired this week for rambling, so pretty much it'll be progress sharing, and yeah, we'll just see how things go. So I should mention today is Sunday, which is normally the day that I was uploading, but I've changed my upload schedule, so I'm thinking we'll be switching to a Wednesday or Tuesday upload. Just trying new things. The channel's still young, and I hope it doesn't bother anybody who is watching, but a lot of this video is honestly for me. I know, it would be cool to have a lot of subscribers and a committed audience and everything, but I'm so small right now that it does feel very much like I'm talking to myself. That being said, I do love to do these videos and I love to hear from you guys because I don't have like a designated knitting community or crafting community like my mom makes. My sister-in-law has started making, but the one group in my area that does meet for a sit and stitch night kind of thing, they meet on a day that I already have an obligation. So yeah, it's just nice to have you guys in the comment section and the community that comes from anybody who finds my content interesting and whoever pops in to say hi. So anyway, that's enough of an intro. Let's go ahead and jump in with the whips. If you have been here since the beginning, you know that I had said like I'm not gonna have all these whips going. I'm just gonna be like somewhat monogamous, and I feel like I've done an okay job with that. Like there's been a lot of projects I've wanted to cast on, or I don't know what it's called when you're crocheting, I guess start, but I've really been fairly disciplined about not taking on too many things. However, this just seems like it's been a week of like not a lot of focus. I think I mentioned in my last video that my parents were in town, and so I couldn't really work on like my mom's shirt all the time, and I had this other yarn that's been floating around my home for a while. It's been like made into the beginning of like a hood. It's been sort of just used to make a like let's just practice knitting in the round kind of thing, and I finally decided I'm gonna go ahead and make the Lento. And so with that decision, I was like, well, why not start it? I own the yarn. I want to make something at a larger gauge just to see like what the fuss is about it. Everybody says it goes pretty quick, and some of my other projects are kind of tedious. Like I'm enjoying them, but they're not just like plain stockinette knitting yet. And so I wanted something that was just a little bit simpler to just like go and have a variety of not yarn weight, but like needle gauge that I'm working with. So anyway, that's enough about that. Let's talk about the Lento, since we've been talking about the Lento. So let me grab it one sec. Okay, so since last week, I cast on the collar and knit that. I thought while my mom was in town, she could help me out with this provisional cast on because she's been knitting much longer than I have been, and I thought what a perfect opportunity to get help from another knitter like in person. However, I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but I have a 4-month-old daughter, and so Grandma and Grandpa did not want to look at knitting. They wanted to hang out with their granddaughter. So Anyway, consequently, I had to kind of figure out the professional cast on my own, which is fine, but that was like one of the things I was focusing on when I did decide to cast it on. Was I was like, let's just get this collar to the point where, like, if I need help, she can help me. And then that didn't happen. So in terms of getting help, I did accomplish connecting the collar and like knitting the two ends together and everything. However, I did have a lot of problems with the unraveling of the crochet provisional cast on edge. And so I don't know if I did it wrong when I cast on initially, or I'm not really sure what my problem was, honestly. So, but I did get the collar connected, and so we're fine. But let me show you guys. This is the progress that I've made. So basically from nothing to this, I feel pretty good about. Oh my goodness, though, I might lose stitches. Sorry. I added another cable so I could try this on, and I didn't put like a stopper on. So I was like, oh my gosh, I might have lost stitches. I didn't. I think we're okay. It looks okay. Anyway, so this involves some short row shaping. I did cast on the third size, and then I just decided that I would stop because I want like a really open neck on this. And I figured I would just stop increasing on the raglan when I got to the smallest size, because this is designed to have a lot of positive ease, and I want something a little bit more fitted than I think what the pattern calls for. Also, I'm not doing the suggested holding two strands together, one fingering, one mohair. It's just the one fingering weight. I am just curious to learn about knitting and how materials work up and how the drape of a fabric is when you work with whatever material you want rather than what the design calls for. So may run into problems later, but so far so good. I think I mentioned this has short row shaping. Let me try this on for us. There we go. Okay, so very early in the process here, but that's about how far we've got. We've got the collar going. So yeah, just very much starting. I do love the colorfulness of this. I don't think I own anything this colorful, and so I'm excited to be able to add this to my wardrobe. The other thing is that being in Texas, it's nice to have layers that aren't really heavy. And so my thought for this is that it may end up being cropped and it may end up being short sleeve. I haven't decided. I figure I'm just gonna like work until I get it to a point where I like it and then stop. And so we're not doing a full sweater with this, but I don't know, I'm enjoying it so far. I will say there have been a few times where I've set it down and then picked it back up like the next day or a few hours later, whatever. And I don't know, I can't remember if I've knitted the increase round or if I'm on the just plain knit round. So I'm sure there's mistakes in here. I've already found some and tried to like save them and fix them, like just dropped stitches and stuff. But I know it's not going to be perfect, but I am enjoying the process. I do really like how sheer this fabric is. I definitely intend for this to be a layering piece more than just like a sweater to wear. So excited to see how it comes. I did have a little bit of trouble with my tension when I switched from the smaller needle size to, that I used for the collar to the very large size that we're doing the body with. But now that I'm going, I feel like my tension is looser, which is really good for me to have a project like this, because I think I'm kind of a tighter knitter. I'm not sure if that's true, but like just working on this, I don't have as much like potential achiness in my forearms as I do when I've been primarily working on my other two whips. And I think that has to do with the elasticity of the yarn and also the looseness of the gauge, as well as me like adjusting my tension. So anyway, it's all a learning process, but I'm liking it so far, and I can't wait to see this. Like, I mean, this is a lot, feels like a lot of progress for a week, and so I see the appeal of working on very large gauge. So that's all I got to say about this for now. It's not very far, and I'm sure I'll have more observations or interesting things to share as we get further into the project. But yeah, that's all. Let me go ahead and take this off, and then I'll show you guys the other whips I've got going. Okay, we're back. So that was kind of bad. Two things. First of all, so sorry if the dishwasher's in the background. It's been running for a while and I didn't want to interrupt the cycle, so if it's bothering you guys, I apologize. We'll shoot to have a more quiet environment next time. Just bear with me. Second thing is, I should have realized this would happen as I was like taking that off over my head. First of all, I've got like this little barrette in, and so things get like caught on it, and then you know, those needles on the cable and the stitches and all of it. Anyway, should have put stitch markers on because I lost like 7 or 8 stitches, and as I mentioned in a previous video, I'm not the best about like fixing problems, and like the thing that makes my heart race the most as a person who came from a crochet background is live stitches, just like out in the wild, not on a needle. Like, oh, that's stressful to me. So anyway, I think I got them all. I think we're okay. I see the appeal of learning to knit like a dishcloth or something like that, because oh my gosh, that was just wildly stressful. And I think when I learn to do when I start playing with the lace chart that I'm going to show you guys the pattern for next, I'm going to practice with a dishcloth just so that I get really comfortable manipulating stitches and moving things around, and it gives me a better comprehension of the lace design I'm working with. So anyway, without further ado, here is the Cascada tee I've been working on for my mom. I haven't made a ton of progress because, as I said, I have been kind of like stashing it away whenever my mom's been around, and I haven't taken it with me when I've gone places. Not that it travels well anyway, but let me grab that. Okay, so I did make some progress. I do need to really think about ordering some more yarn because it is definitely coming along. It looks like a shirt, which is just amazing. I tried it on a while back and it was just so good. It's got some weight to it, which surprises me because like it's very thin yarn I'm using. I'm using a sock base combined with this giant spool of linen lace weight. So very fine yarns really, and it's not like this is like 5 skeins. It's, I mean, I don't know how much I've used of the linen. I should have waited to begin with so I knew, but I mean, I haven't even finished the 2 skeins of sock weight yarn, so you wouldn't think this should be heavy, but it is. So I hope she will wear it, because that was one thing she told me, is she's like, yeah, I've made stuff for myself, but it's too heavy, and so I just didn't wear it. So I hope she wears this. This is what I have left. Sorry about the lighting. I am in a different angle because it's so overcast today. I thought we'd try something new. Also, motivation to keep my house clean, right? This is what I've got left. I do probably need to order more, but I kind of want to wait until I know what other skeins of yarn I want to order with it so that I get free shipping and, you know, lower carbon footprint and whatever, because they're not sending me boxes or envelopes more than once. Since we spoke last, I at this llama, and you can see I haven't done but maybe an inch. So we haven't made massive progress on this guy, but every little bit adds up. I do think I stopped this right before I got to the lace section, which is why this is called the Cascada Tee, because it has this really lovely, it's hard to see in pattern. I think when it blocks it will be a lot easier to see it, but very lovely waterfall lace panel that goes under the arm. And I actually do enjoy working on this, but it does require me to have my phone pulled up with the pattern and like focus and attentiveness. So like if I've had a glass of wine, I should not be working on this. And so I think because this is like the next part coming up, I haven't been like, let me just sit down and like knit a whole bunch, because I know it's going to require focus before I, you know, can actually accomplish anything. So that's where we're at on this. I know I said that it was probably 2 weeks of actual knitting, but I've been working on the Lento and the Sorbet, and so this one just hasn't gotten a lot of love this week. So let me show y'all the progress that I've made on the Sorbet, because while it's not massive, it's enough that it's noticeable, and I'm starting to think like, okay, when do I want to switch over to plain stockinette? So hold on. Okie doke. This is the Sorbet. I am modifying this quite heavily. So this is a free pattern on Ravelry, and mostly I'm just using the pattern more for like stitch counts and shape rather than like for what the shirt's going to be. I feel like it's a good, I'm saying this like I actually know anything about patterns. I feel like it's a good pattern for jumping off. And if you watch the Is a Sarah podcast, she refers to it as like adding her Sarah sauce. So this is Rachel Spice. Basically, for example, the pattern calls for basically, like, I keep saying basically, but about this much rib, and it's 1x1 rib. I was like, I don't like 1x1 rib, so we're gonna do a 3x1 rib. And because my stitches look like yuck at the very beginning, I switched to a twisted purl. So again, not following the pattern for this. And then as you can see, this is significantly more than 5 centimeters, or like, I don't know, 1.5 inches. And so this actually was gonna go up my torso quite a way, probably to like bottom / mid rib cage, I think is what I want it to be, because this is a bamboo yarn. It has no stretch and no give, so I thought it would be nice to have ribbed for the waist torso area, and then allow it to be stockinette and sort of more drapey and billowy around the bust, and then go into the sleeves and stuff. So that's kind of the vision I have for this. I made really good progress on this, I feel like, this past week. I don't know, what is that, 1.5 inches maybe? So not bad. I have had a busy week though. We've been running around. We went to go see my mom, and that was like, so I picked up my sister-in-law, and then we drove up to see my mom and dad where they were staying, and then we went to a yarn store. So altogether, I probably spent maybe 4 hours driving that day. And then we've had other stuff on this week, and so just been a crazy busy week. I feel like that's everybody's spring break. So and compared to some people, ours was nice and relaxing, but for me it was a busy week. I mean, I made 5 pounds of hamburgers, so because we had my family over for dinner. Anyway, all I'm doing is making excuses as to why I haven't made that much progress knitting, but it's true. I've had other things going. My daughter's starting to like pop herself up and look around, which is so much fun. Like, y'all, if you are thinking about having children and are not sure you really want that responsibility, do it. It's worth it. I know I'm probably saying something that's very obvious to people who have children. My husband and I have been married for a long time, and I knew that I always wanted children, but I also knew that it was a lot of responsibility, and I want my children to have as much of the good parts of my childhood as I had. And so for me, that meant being able to be there for them. And once you start having children, if you plan to be a stay-at-home mom, you can't then be like, oh, change my mind, I'm gonna go back to work. Like, you can, but then you gotta do something with the kid. And so anyway, I'm rambling here, but I'm just letting you guys in on my logic, because we waited so long to start a family, and I'm so thankful because it prepared us in a lot of ways to be ready for it. And this season of life is different than what it's been for the past 10 years, but it's so great. And I cannot express how wonderful it is to have a daughter. If you don't have children and want to, like, do it. Our population is in decline. Children are a lot of work. They do require being responsible, but it is probably one of the best things that I've ever done, and hands down, best whip in my life. So I love watching her grow and change, and it's just such a blessing to be able to be her mom. So here I am getting sentimental, but let me pause this video real quick and make sure she's not waking up, and then I'll show you guys something I got this week while I was visiting my mom. Okay, so the other thing I was thinking about that we had going that had me busy this week was we had a gender reveal party for one of my niece and or nephew. It's a niece, which is so special because, like, when you know, my daughter is only like almost 5 months, but give it another 10 years and she will probably have 30 cousins. Like, as of right now, she has 16 cousins, and this one that they just announced will make 17, and it's just very exciting. I'm from a big family, but that's all just like my siblings, and my husband's from a big family, and again, that's just all siblings. Neither one of us really have like a ton of cousins, and so I am so stoked for her. Like, there will be always somebody that's like in her life that she can go to that's like not necessarily mom, and not necessarily dad, but like peers, and also people a little bit ahead of her, people a little bit behind her. And so just so exciting. Yesterday was a long day, but that's why, because we were doing gender reveal party and then family dinner and all this stuff. So just something that was on my mind when I was going to get the baby monitored to make sure she's not awake. She's passed out because she had a very long day. I am gonna go ahead and put in just some pictures of our family here. It's not gonna be like our faces, just because I guess we don't do that on the internet unless you're a family vlog influencer type. I don't think I want to go that route, and I don't know that that's a smart choice. So anyway, some people might be okay with it. I think for now it's always better to like have some degree of privacy, and if I change my mind down the road, you know, that might happen, but it'll just be like our hands, because it's a very cute photo. So enough rambling. When I went to go visit my mom with my sister-in-law on Tuesday, where I live, there's like maybe, I know of 3 local yarn stores. There might be a 4th one that I'm not aware of, but I know of 3, and one is dedicated to a lot of quilting. So it's not just a local yarn store. They kind of do quilting. They cater to quilters and some yarn. I have heard of the Modern Skein. Nitty Natty did a tour there. I actually haven't watched the tour video, so I didn't know what to expect. I wanted to kind of keep it a surprise, but because my mom and dad were staying close to Modern Skein. I say close, it's Texas, so 30 minutes is close. But they were staying, you know, nearby, and so I picked up my sister-in-law, and then we drove up to pick up my mom, and then the three of us plus my daughter drove over to the Modern Skein, and it was super cool. Like, I've never been through that part of Magnolia. I think it's Magnolia. I keep wanting to say Montgomery, but I'm pretty sure it's Magnolia. Anyway, they had like this sort of general store and an antique store and like an Amish cheese, pickles and candy and stuff shop next door. So if you're in the area, like, I highly recommend going. The Modern Skein itself was really cool. I wish I lived close by, because I could tell they were gonna, like, they have a little area for knit night, and just a lot of beautiful yarns. Go watch Knitty Natty's video. I'll link it if you're interested in yarn store tours. I'm not. I'm more like I want to go there and be there myself, but I see the appeal, so I'll link it. But while we were there, I am a girl that likes a bargain, and I will always check out like the clearance rack. I have no shame in terms of, like, if I'm gonna buy something and I can get it on sale, then, like, why not? And if I don't have anything in mind and I'm just I want to spend some money, but I don't have like a project, I'm gonna shop the clearance rack. That's just kind of how I go. So I picked up this Jacobite Rebellion. It's a red stag fiber, and it's just this really beautiful, I think it's called Castle Surrey is the base weight, and it's a baby alpaca and silk blend. It is so soft. So it's very much like a mohair. 328 yards. Doesn't say meterage on there, but yeah. And I don't know what color this is. I mean, it's like a mauve purple. I would describe this as wine. Like, it's a wine color. But it's just very soft, and honestly, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but it was clearanced, and I thought it would be a good way for me to like play around with a yarn like this, without having to be like, I'm going to make a whole sweater worth or whatever. Plus, they didn't have that many skeins. They just had this one in this particular type, and so it's like, you know what? This is like very low barrier entry to a luxury or specialty yarn, and so I might just hold this with a regular cotton or something else when I make a doll. I've seen some lovely dolls made with a mohair, and it just gives the doll a beautiful halo. So I haven't really decided what I'm gonna do with it, but it was on clearance and I was like, this is beautiful yarn. I'm sure I can find something to do with it. I do kind of think it's clearanced because there are knots in it. Like, I haven't really gotten into the yarn skein. This might just be like the beginning and the end, but right here I see very obviously 2 knots, and they just kind of jump out. So I don't know if that's maybe why a more experienced knitter didn't snap this up earlier, or if I'm just being critical and I don't know what I'm talking about. Also, when you go places with a 4-month-old, you sometimes have mom brain. Like, I pride myself on not having mom brain, but I was like, I'm totally gonna ask them to wind this up for me. Does this look like it's in a cake? So yeah, I got distracted by other stuff. There's so many beautiful things at that shop. The other thing I bought was a Chowgu 360 like swivel cable, and what was I working with that? Oh, when I was making the collar of my Lento, I was really struggling with magic loop. Like, it was not very happy with me, and I popped that swivel cable on, and it is, it's a dream. I will say that at the connection points, I'll show you guys what I'm saying. Okay, at the connection points where your interchangeable needles go. Like your really nice high quality ones seem to have like this really smooth transition. The way that the swivel cable is designed, it's sort of got like this barrel, and then the swivel component allows the cord to go in, and there's some kind of like maybe collar on the inside that allows it to swivel freely. The only thing is that means that this part right here is not very smooth. So when you're working with a fingering weight, it does snag a little bit as you're moving your yarn around. But I will say that that was so much better than my like chaotic magic loop. Same length cable, but having that swivel feature just made it a breeze to move past the collar and get onto like the body of this. So I have mentioned before, I'm a huge proponent of having the right tools for the job, and I cannot say enough good things about the particular needles that I use and how much I enjoy them. And just, I would encourage you, if you are a newer knitter to, or even crocheting, get the right tools. If you find that you think you're enjoying a hobby as you're making your way into it, and you think you'll spend more time doing that hobby, get the things that will help make that hobby more enjoyable. And I do have to check myself sometimes on that, because I am one that I'm like, I need all the stuff to do the thing. And in the past, I've been a serial hobbyist, so you can see why that might be not a very good tendency. But I have kind of refined my focus. I knit and I crochet, and I make the hobbies pay for themselves. So I didn't buy fancy interchangeable needle sets until I had sold enough crocheted items to do that. Same thing with my Odyssey crochet hooks. I did not buy those until I had sold enough toys to, again, make the hobby pay for itself. So, but do buy tools that are going to make the hobby enjoyable if you plan to stick with a hobby. So anyway, that's my soapbox and my rambles for this week. I know it's a little bit disconnected, but that's been this week. So I hope you guys have enjoyed spring break, if you guys were on spring break recently. And I hope you're enjoying this beautiful weather that we're starting to come into. And if you have any thoughts or want to jump in on the comment section, I would love to hear from you guys. You are my knit night. You are my knitting community. And I just so appreciate any engagement that I get. I love to hear from y'all. I love to watch other knitting videos. So if you have ones that you like that seem like I might enjoy them as well, feel free to share them. I may do a video where I share the podcast that I watch and listen to. Because who knows, maybe you've never heard of the people that I like, and I can positively influence you with other makers. So anyway, that's all I've got for you guys. Take care. Have a lovely week. I'll catch you later. Okay, so I did think of one other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. Knits by Mandy's video came out, I think, sometime last week. I'm sorry, I don't remember the day. I'll link her video, but she shared like this pretty long diatribe on the Sarah J. Maas book series with Farah and the A Court of Thorns and Roses, like that whole series. And I just have to say that I could not agree more with her on so many of the points that she made. I do not understand how this book is sweeping the chickie community, and it's not even just young girls. Like, it's women who I feel like I kind of thought had their heads screwed on a little straighter than that. And I'm not saying this to be offensive to anybody by any means, but I do just think that it's not great writing. It's very, like, there's so many better versions of fantasy out there. And I mean, if you're in it for the spicy scenes, then definitely pick those books up, read them. They're great. But I just wanted to say specifically to Mandy that it is not representative of the fantasy genre as a whole. And there's so many better books out there that represent that genre. So just had to jump in and say that. I know that's a probably controversial thing to say, and I will probably start including bits here and there on what I'm reading. I am an avid book reader. I should say I'm an avid story listener, because being a mom, being interested in keeping my house tidy and cooking and providing for my family in that way, as well as making with my hands, I just don't read. Also, the whole dyslexic ADHD thing do not pair well for making reading the easiest, most enjoyable hobby. But I love stories and I love being entertained, and I would really like to share some of that with y'all. So if you do want to hear more about what I'm reading, and that sounds interesting to you guys, if you want me to incorporate that into this podcast, let me know, and I will try to start tacking on maybe like a book section at the very end. So anyway, that's all.